Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Amenities and Tourism Committee. The first item is apologies for absence and any substitutions. We do have 2 apologies. So Councillor Pond has got COVID, but is hoping to join online, and Councillor Peacock is away. So are we happy to accept or to note those apologies, please?
Noted.
And if Councillor Pond is able to join, then he's obviously welcome to make any. I'll be happy to let him make any contributions online. Item 2, declarations of interest. Has anybody got anything new that needs to be added as an interest that they haven't declared previously?
No.
No? Okay, item 3, to approve the minutes of the meeting held on 8th of June. I'm happy to propose those minutes. Could I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second.
Councillor Hughes, thank you very much. Any comments or otherwise on the minutes?
No.
So happy to approve the minutes. Show of hands. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your pens up to you. Are you sure?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Town Clerk. So item 4, Chairman's announcements. Firstly, very pleased to see the Millennium Clock back in place and working, and thank you to everybody involved in the reparations of that. Secondly, just a small update, short update on the fountain, the water fountain on the High Street. Pleased to say that planning permission is now approved for the restoration of the fountain, and we're now waiting for the installation. We'll be aware there's quite a lot of history to the ongoing maintenance of the fountain, and the Town Clerk has picked up again with Mid Sussex District Council for an agreement between the parties to allocate responsibilities for ongoing maintenance and the financials to go with it. So we look forward to future updates. Will that come back to committee for sign off, Town Clerk?
If it's anything other than what was originally agreed and reported back to this committee, which from memory was £5,000 to come as a dowry.
Yeah.
If there's anything other than that, then I'll certainly come back. I'll report on it.
So it's a good news story, but we will just wait to get the confirmation. But I think we should probably again thank East Windsor Society for all the work that they've done to help progress this and work with the other parties to get to where we are. So item 5 is the tourism report, which we've all had the opportunity to read. Alice, I know you're here this evening. Are you happy to maybe talk through some of the highlights of the report? And I know we've got recommendations afterwards.
Lovely, okay, at the start then, just letting you know what's been going on at the tourist desk. It's always really interesting to see who comes to see us, from local residents to lots of different tourists we've had from all around the world, taking East Grinstead tea towels and fridge magnets back home. Eastcourt Live, so thank you to everyone who helped out there. All 3 events went really, really well. No issues. We were lucky with the weather, really good turnout, and I think really good QVH fundraising announced as well. So really good, and the planning has started for next year. So we're on to that one. Sponsorship. Yeah, I'm having meetings with South East Water to try and get sponsorship again for next year. I'm not sure if we'll get 3 years in a row. So if anyone's got any recommendations for any companies I can approach, please let me know. That'd be very useful. Tourism sales, yeah, we've reached our target for making sales, and we're looking at buying some more merchandise to have in the library. We've been having lots of IT issues in the library, so I just wanted to put that in the report so you guys know that it's going to F&GP, so you'll probably see that there. But it's been quite frustrating, and we have lost quite a lot of hours of work, but it seems like we've got a solution coming, so that's good. EG guidebook and map. So hopefully you've all seen this because it has been around since 2019. And a lot of the main kind of key information about our tourism sites hasn't really changed. But as you know, we've got some new streets, so our map is a bit out of date. We haven't paid for this in the past, it's been advertising printed funding, but we've had a few companies who we've approached to try and get this reproduced and updated. And several companies are not keen on taking it on because it's not financially viable for them, they cannot get the advertisers. So we're wondering if we can kind of update this one as a kind of a mini version instead, so I'm looking into that. But again, it's not looking hugely possible. And the map as well, we haven't had to pay for that before. So I think the recommendation that I've actually put in here is do you want to have an updated version? Is this one, which isn't actually dated, sufficient for now? We do still have a few hundred copies in the basement, and we do have some separate maps as well. But also what we do give out in the library is just a very basic A4 copy of the centre of town. If anyone's just struggling to get around town, if they're new to town or anything, that is quite useful, because the whole pull out of every single street is a bit overwhelming for some people, but some people do specifically come and ask for a street by street, especially if they're like looking to move here or something. It's quite a useful document, and I know the estate agents like to hand it out as well. So yeah, I'd be really interested to hear what you guys think about how to move forward with this.
Alice, sorry, can I ask?
Yeah,
Can I ask a question?
that's right. So thank you very much for the report, and it was really great as well to read about East Court Life and how successful that's been. But just go to questions, Councillor Hugh.
Alice, thank you for that. So we've had road changes. I guess I
Yeah.
wanted to know if the maps are 80% right, 90% right.
I'm 99% right.
Okay,
I think we've only got 3 roads we need to add on there.
so the changes.
I think there's some of the issues up, like things like Hill Place Farm,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
other issues in due
Yeah.
course that could become a bit of a problem. Councillor Mockford.
Thank you, Chair. I have upon my person at home a book which was given out by estate agents, which is very close to that, with a map. Now, surely if estate agents are giving that out, why can't they contribute towards the cost?
Yeah,
Should they not be approached?
yeah, true. When did you get a map from them and a guidebook from them?
Oh, I mean, this is going back to the 1950s. It was in my
Oh.
father's bureau. But
Okay,
I'm just saying, I know it's old, but you know, it's something that I think we should
yeah, it's definitely interesting thought, yeah.
look at. And I'm
Okay.
sure there are some companies that would be really happy. One I am thinking about, who is very, very strong on supporting East Grinstead wherever he can, is Provincial Windows.
Okay. And you thinking about the sponsorship element or just this element?
Or anything. He's
Okay.
very good at
Do you have a
sponsoring.
contact there?
I can get that to you.
Yeah, lovely, thanks.
Can I bring the town clerk in, I think?
I was just going to say that I wasn't aware that years ago the estate agency to give them out. So that is interesting, because 10 years ago we did approach all of the estate agents with
Yeah, I thought
maps,
that had done been for a long
and
time.
wanted to simply provide them with the guidebooks, because at the time they've been provided for free. Provide them with them, would they please hand out as part of a welcome to the town pack information about Visit East Grinstead, here's the book, and here you go, and we're your town councillor. Not interested in the slightest, none of them. Yeah, I think times have changed, but it's certainly worth an ask. Would they be
Yeah,
interested in
absolutely, yeah.
sponsoring them in order to then get them again, hopefully? I think it's perfect. New people in town should get a welcome pack. I 100% agree with you, councillor.
So just picking up on points Alice made and other contributions, clearly it would be nice to have an up-to-date map, but I think you said you've still got several hundred down below, and so we're also entering different technological times with QR codes and things, and so people are going a little bit more online. If we've still got them, my suggestion would be that we possibly defer this for another 12 months or so, just so that we reduce our reserves a little bit, and then in 12 months' time we might look again at how investigating the sponsorship options suggested by Councillor Motford, etc. in the meantime, and just seeing whether other advances that could be done, and maybe also doing, I'm sure you're doing it already, but just having a bit of comparison with what some of the other very desirable towns, such as tourist towns like nearby, are doing as well. If that would be okay, then perhaps we just don't put some spending now, but we just make sure in 12 months or so that we're ready for that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think the,
I'm proposing that, yeah. Sorry. I'm
Somebody like to second?
I'm happy to second that.
second that, and we'll hear from.
yeah, you know, I think that's a good idea. I think although technology is changing, and I think we do need to think about that, I still think there's a need for a map. I think something, we're not quite out of that system there of people all going onto a tablet and QR codes and everything like that. So I think use what we've got, totally agree, and then think about how we move forward with doing both. And
Yeah.
eventually it will merge out. And certainly with the cost of printing these days and paper, moving forward, it would be the sensible way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, just as someone that's come back from holiday today and staying somewhere last night, and I was given a town map just as a sort of thrown away by the hotel reception, just to sort of, so I knew where I was and where I was going. I think there's always going to be a place for those paper maps, rather than necessarily a thicker guide. Personally, I think that might be the.
And you'll find out how many people need them when you stop.
Yes,
And when you take them away.
yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah, but just the principle of having them, I think we all agreed on. So, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take a vote, Chair.
Oh, can we just agree that? I think it was unanimous.
Lovely,
Okay,
thank you very much.
So the item number 6, Estates and Community Services Report. Alison's done a very comprehensive report, which for us, unfortunately, Alison can't be here this evening, although the town clerk would be happy to answer any questions. There are no items for coming forward as recommendations from this evening, so you just have to note the report. But it's just whether anybody has any comments that they'd like to raise in respect to the report, or the town clerk, whether there's anything you'd like to add in particular.
I don't think there's anything that I need to draw particularly to the attention of committee, with the exception of something that's happened this week, which I'm sure you probably are aware, that we have had vandalism in the children's play park here in East Grinstead, in East Court.
Yeah.
A fire was set beneath the lovely new piece of equipment, which means it's got to be safety tested. It's got, I mean, aesthetically it's burnt, but it is stainless steel, so we're probably not going to do anything about that. But if it's structurally still sound, obviously we'll be able to continue for that to be used. At the moment, it's roped off. Very disappointing. We called the police again last night, as there were youngsters yet again in the play park in large numbers. And the caretaker on duty called the police. They did come along, but apparently didn't even get out of the car. So I don't know what we're going to do or have to do about our own security of a play park. But as you all remember, it's a very expensive piece of kit. So just to be aware.
Do we have any CCTV?
That doesn't come that far up. The CCTV picture that we've got, you can see the fire, but it was dark anyway, and it just doesn't go that far up. The CCTV is around the building, and although it shoots up towards that area, it's not in any great detail. It may be something that we have to look at doing, which means it's going to be an expensive piece of kit, because of course we've got no electricity up there.
Councillor Farrell, did you want to?
Yeah, just my only comment really is a great report, so thank you to Mrs. Merricks for that. Kings Street toilets, another one that's, you know, causing a conversation every round. I think we just need to be mindful to keep looking at that and keep an eye on the costs. It's something that we offer. It's a great resource to have a toilet, but it is getting vandalised and spoiled. And actually, even the toilets here, I noticed in the report as well, there were toilets, you know, we fought very hard to get the changing facilities into the gentlemen's toilets here at East Court, and they are being abused as well by the younger members of our residents, which is such a shame. So that's something, again, if a CCTV does go in, it's another area that needs to be, but, you know, just need to look at the facilities that we're offering and the costs, just keep monitoring it.
Yeah.
It must be very frustrating for you all.
Well, I was going to say, because I agree with what you're saying, Catherine, but equally, if we think about the people that have to fix these ongoing vandalism, and some of them are very unpleasant things they have to fix, there's only so much that people can be expected to do, and I think we must be getting very near what if not beyond what is actually acceptable.
Yes, Chair, sorry, can I just say very quickly that the one of the problems we have with the CCTV around the public toilets is that it's quite low there because it's quite a low roof, obviously, and that's what got vandalised. The
Of course.
pictures of the gentleman who decided to have CCTV rage, I'm not quite sure how to put it, he literally flew at the camera and destroyed the camera. And of course, we've got that on film because it comes straight back into our server. So we've got that on film. That's been provided to police, but it's mindless.
Yeah.
And endless.
Alice, do you want to?
Sorry.
Yeah, if that's okay, thank you. The 5 or 6 individuals who have been causing problems around King's Toilet and now at the bench that's been mentioned in the report outside the Railway Tavern have been issued with warning letters from District's antisocial behaviour team.
Oh, that's good.
We know who they are.
They know who they are, yeah. So hopefully things may improve, but we might not need to, someone's requested for the bench to be removed, but it's being dealt with, so hopefully that might not be needed.
It would be a shame to lose the bench.
Yeah.
For the sake of, it's literally 2 or 3, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think one of the things I'd raise, obviously Mrs. Merrick's is not here, Alison's not here this evening, but if you look at the detail of the report, how all over all these issues town council staff are, how much time they spend on them, how much time they listen to people's complaints, and if people have got issues they want to raise, then they really do spend the time making sure that they are dealt with, etc. So you know, it's not an easy job, but there is a lot of effort goes into dealing with both the issues and the points raised. So I'm very grateful. I'm sure we want to thank Mrs. Barracks and her team for the ongoing work that they do, which is not difficult, which is not an easy task because it's very difficult to please everybody. So thank you very much. So we note the report and move on to item 7, which revenue services. Yes. So
I'm afraid Sarah's not with us.
yes.
So
As,
you're going to have to rely on me, and it's been a while since
Well-
I've read the papers, I'm afraid.
So
But I will do my
so
best.
we've got the 2 cemeteries for Bury Services. We've got Mount Noddy, and thank you to Councillor Hughes, etc. for sorting out recent meetings. I think many of us had the opportunity to see what some of the sort of works that are required with Mount Noddy, and then we've also got the Queen's Road Cemetery where there's ongoing works there to give that the sort of protection that it needs. We've got the reports before us this evening for both of those. I'm just checking.
I think
Do you
the
have-
Vice
do you
Chair
want
has
to-
got a really good understanding, I don't want to put her on the
Yes.
spot, but I expect she's got a really, really good understanding of the wobble tests and everything
Yes.
that's come with that. So I don't know if the Vice Chair wants to pick up a little bit from the recent visit, and obviously the Councillor Gibbs was there as well, as to why we've gone down this road and why we wanted to draw it to attention of committee and get committee to approve the policy, which is the first thing
Yeah.
on this part of the report, because it is something we simply cannot ignore. I think that the Vice Chair will say more about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So obviously a few weeks ago, several of us attended a tour of Mount Noddy. A, as part of a delayed induction, and B, to really understand, I guess, the challenges and issues that the team are facing there. So the report refers to security, which is the reinforced fence that's being put in. But the real focus of the visit was to understand, I guess, all of the enhanced legislation that has come in over about the last 15 years, I believe, that has come in several stages based on several very, very unfortunate deaths in cemeteries across the country that have been caused by toppling or loose headstones. So we toured and talked about the safety issues. We talked about the tests that have to be conducted every 5 years. I think that's the wobble test. And I think more frequently for headstones over a certain height. And at the moment, if you walk around the cemetery, there are a number of warnings that have been put on certain headstones that A, haven't passed the wobble test, B, are deemed to be unsafe, and there are several stones that have already been laid down. So I think the report talks through that, talks through the whys and the whats. Obviously, the council will always do their best to contact the deed owners, but that is proving quite difficult in a number of places because obviously burials go back to 1912, memory, 1912, 1915. So actually making contact has been quite difficult. So I think the recommendation is really for us to approve a process that keeps visitors safe in the cemetery and actually makes us sort of compliant with the tests that need to be put in place versus legislation.
Thank you. So you're happy to propose the recommendation and report which to follow the process set out in the report?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
happy to
second that as well. Does anyone got any comments on that?
I thought it was a very comprehensive policy. It covers absolutely everything in detail. So I think it's very robust, which shows that we've done a really good job on it. Ragweeting is a nice and simple way of doing it. And so I commend the Sarah and the team for writing such a good policy, and very happy to proceed with that.
I couldn't make the meeting, but I've sat down with Sarah and John, and I think that just the public, I had no idea as to the level of work required for testing, and I think the public was quite shocked, but it makes sense in the overall context of the tests that council uses, replied to some of the sort of dangers that will eventually happen if we don't do anything. So again, I'm also very happy to approve. Councillor Gibbs.
I would echo comments already said, but in terms of the meeting to look around the cemetery, how long ago was it now? A couple of weeks ago?
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's quite an eye-opener. And there's a lot of work that's going to go into making us compliant, but safety is paramount. So we don't really want to have any experiences or near misses like they have been elsewhere. So yeah, a very good report, and policy, and I'd support it.
Agree, and I think one of the other things I'd say, I think you have to chat about what other councils are doing, and there were lots of different strategies that trying to balance the respect for the safety isn't easy to do, and this, hopefully makes a very difficult situation possibly the best that it could be, because other councils have taken other strategies that perhaps, I don't think what the experience of the public will be looking for.
I agree. It's a really, really nice combination of sensitivity and safety.
Yeah, exactly that. Okay, so voting in favour of the recommendations. So that's unanimous. Thank you. And thank you to Sarah and the team for all their hard work on this, because I think it's very easy to underestimate how much work is involved to get to this stage. So item number 8. Oh, sorry, Queen's Road. Queen's Road. So Queen's Road, we've obviously had a number of conversations before regarding badges, and we've known about the issues of moving, what damage badges can do to cemeteries, and badger's been moved to Brooklands Park, but we may have a last badger standing. But we would like to stop Arafat and the lovely badger families colonising. We'd like to put in the badger proof fencing and other recommendation. Within the report, would anyone like to comment on the recommendations, or are we understanding of the issues that we're facing? It's time that we need to do this, and then we can move on with the Queen's Road Cemetery and allow our badgers to enjoy their lives in peace, but just not there.
Chairman, can I just add a few
Yes.
words to
Yes.
it?
Diplomatic way of putting it.
So this is the final report that Harry wrote
Yeah.
before he left, and he did discuss this at the last meeting, and so you did know it was coming.
Yeah,
This is the final piece of work which will allow us to cordon off an area, in fact throwing in the towel a little bit, that we can't completely eradicate the badgers at this time from the cemetery, but it is very much hoped they do migrate, and it is very much hoped actually that the last badger standing will shortly be no badger at all, and then obviously we'll be able to reclaim. But this is the last piece of work to ensure that they can't get back into the rest of the cemetery, and that this last little bit is there, and once that's gone for good, we will then be able to reclaim that piece as well. But that might take another 18 months or so to get to that stage. But by doing this work, it means that we can look to reopen the rest of the cemetery once we're able to resolve the entrance. We'll be back with that one another time. But it's getting there to the posts, the little ropes and everything. It's all going to make it so much more safe for people, and getting to the point that we actually are able to let people back in there. So it's the final step. Sarah's taken over the project. Harry, this is Harry's last stand, if you like, with us. He's done a superb job, and Chairman, I'd really like you to please place that on record, because Harry was tasked with get them patches out, and he's almost done it. He's probably only regret they're not gone.
so I think we can approve the recommendation with the extra substance of thanking Harry very much for his perseverance in taking this book. But I think he actually enjoyed the project as well. It was something, it's one of those ones where you can see the start to the finish. But I hope you do pass on that we are grateful to him. Thank you, Town Clerk. Recommendation approval, show of hands.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now item 8, the Frieze of Meridian Hall. This has particularly come up due to our Member of Parliament wishing to hold a jobs fair at East Grinstead and surrounding areas, and obviously we recognise, I think, that a jobs fair is a good thing to be having at Meridian Hall, but there does come with that how it's paid for. We have a recommendation. There are different options available to the committee, so offering a discount, offering no discount, various charges, etc. But I think one of the ones that perhaps might be a nice compromise would be to charge the full amount, but to become a sponsor of the event ourselves. So the East Grinstead Town Council puts ourselves on the map as supporting such events, and offering to cover the cost through our sponsorship, but in return getting full recognition for that. So that's what my proposal would be, to go with the charging the full amount, but replacing that, offering it out in kind as a sponsorship for us getting the recognition. But I open the floor to see if anybody else has any comments. Councillor Farron.
I think that's the best way forward, getting our name out there. To say it's something it's a town thing, that the town is supporting all the children and everybody that's looking, not just the people that are coming into the job market, for those that are looking for jobs or re-entering the job market. I think it'd be very good for the town council to be part of that experience for everybody. So I'm very happy with that idea. Thank you.
Councillor Gibbs.
So yeah, I think it's a good compromise. We want to. It's a public good in the sense that obviously it's helpful to the community, and obviously given recent volatility over quite a long period of time. There are going to be people out of work that might never have been out of work before, never had a job before. So, but we do want to utilise Reading Hall in the best way that works for us. So I would agree it does work as a compromise. So I'd be in favour.
Totally concur.
So I think this is a very lovely meeting so far. I've
Very well
learned
behaved.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's carried.
Right, so the next item on the agenda is events. So, we have an update from the big reveal. We had discussions previously about the Christmas market or the big reveal. We have a way forward, I think, with the big reveal, which we are comfortable with how that is working. I think the question around that is whether there's any appetite to do a separate Christmas market, because I think that's where we are heading. I think the people that organise Big Reveal have got no time to organise Christmas market, so it would fall down to us to organise a Christmas market, and we're already well into the middle of September, and we've got quite a lot on our plates. So we have to decide whether we would like to take on a Christmas market. My suggestion would be not for this year, but we've got the question as whether we would like to take on the Christmas market next year, which is something that I think we can consider. There's a lot of pressures on council staff. Already got the big reveal. We've had a few issues regarding the just a switch on, etc. But Town Clerk, I just pass to you, just to perhaps for you to set out how it is from a town council perspective, just in terms of like commitments and things like that, just how easy it would be, for example, for something for this year as opposed
An
to
extra
maybe
Christmas
next year.
market
Yes,
this year.
exactly.
I think what's really up against us is the time limits as to where we are at the moment. It is September, it's mid-September. In order to get a market in place for mid-December, they're booked up, and to be very fair, Alice has already done some preliminary tentative inquiries. She's had no bites, and actually a lot of people are saying, well, outside, and I'm definitely interested in outside. Christmas markets are available, but you've got to book them best part of the year in advance. To be perfectly honest, what we'll, if committee want to do one for next year, we will leave here today and we'll start the work on next Christmas. That's kind of how it's going to have to work, or you won't get them, especially if you're looking to have something themed like a German market. Obviously, in the past, there's been a French market, which the Town Promotions Committee, is that what they're called? Shopping Promotions Committee used to put on. I think we feel, obviously very keen to see what committee would like to say, but I think we feel that that's a little tired, and it would be nice to see something different. It would be nice perhaps to work with Town Twinning and maybe look at bringing in a German or an Austrian or an Italian market or something a little bit different, and maybe work with them and try and get some more volunteers to come forward from the Town Twinning group. There's not a lot of them, but there's a few, and it might be something we could do. I think it's fair to say that Alice's team have got appetite to do this, and we love the idea, and we picked up from committee previously that you were very keen on a second bite at the cherry for the traders around Christmas time. It's just what we can do, and I really don't think we can do it this year. We are committed to big reveal, providing committee is still happy that we do so. We did have to leave that as the caveat with Emma when we met her the other day. But Emma is fully on board for the big reveal. We've come to some agreement with regards to doing things slightly differently, understanding who has what job, and the fact that actually the town council puts an awful lot of not just resource with the staff and the councillors and the volunteers on the day, but actually also the financials with regards to the entertainment, which I don't think have been fully understood. They thought we got a grant from Mid Sussex District Council, which I've had to explain we no longer are eligible for. I think we were in a much better place when we finished talking with Emma the other day. Feel happy going on working with her and what needs to be done, and very keen that it's not going to quite be the same event as it was, because we're not going to get the wow factor with all the lights going on. But technology is changing. We're hearing of other ideas and things that might be able to bring that back in years to come. I think what committee do need to decide, maybe not this year, is do you want to keep the Christmas lights with the big reveal, which is then the lights and the shopping windows and everything together, the start of the Christmas period, or do you want to consider moving the lights into a fully council-run event, which of course would potentially be the Christmas market or festive market, or what you want to call it. I think there's still a lot for you to talk about, think about, and think where you want to go, but from a resources point of view, I don't think we could deliver a market this year for you, or not one that would be
commensurate with what is residents
I
would like to
I think we would
see,
let everyone down.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be
yeah.
very good.
which we wouldn't want.
And we would hate to do that, but
Yeah.
I'm very confident that we
Yeah.
could do something very good next year. We will need to go back and talk to the promotions committee and say we're happy to take it over, but for next year.
Yeah.
And let's not worry about it. We've not had one in town since COVID, so let's not have one this year. Plan it and bring something back next year which is quality and able to go forward. That would think be a fair reflection of the officers' views.
I think everyone's got a view. So Councillor Mock.
Well, thank you, Chair. I actually sit on the town twinning committee. And as does ex-councillor Frank Osborne. And Frank has organised a German evening, which has sold out, sold 90 tickets. But he's also come up with a German Umpar band, and they've written all their own music. So there is a little pot there that we could really delve into, and I'd be happy to help.
Would that be for this year?
No, next year.
So,
That was very clear.
no, I'm getting a
No.
vibe for next year, but just if
Definitely. You
anyone
don't want
wants
to
to say
you
this,
don't
if
want to-
anyone wants to say this year, then make it clear, but otherwise I'll
Make it
assume
next
they're
year,
for
because-
next year, yeah.
As you say, anything done now would be done in a hurry, and it wouldn't be what we would wish to
Yeah.
aspire to.
Yeah.
And it might put us off doing something better, better next year if we do it.
Yeah.
Like jump
Both, Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you for the update. I'm really, really encouraged by the conversations about the big reveal, because it feels like we're back on track and back in a partnership to deliver something amazing for the town, which is great. I completely agree. I think the short-term pressure to create something incredible for the town is just, it feels too much. And I think it's been really quite encouraging to see there are lots of small markets being set up. I think the hotel down in Felbridge is doing a Christmas market. I've seen some community Christmas markets advertising stalls. So I think there's a lot actually that the community are organising. And as Julie said, the town isn't expecting a market. So I don't think we're under any pressure to deliver. So I would definitely be in agreement to look at next year and how we deliver something with a wow.
I totally agree. I think this year, I mean, to do anything, you need several months, and really you are looking at really 2 months to sort everything out and get it on, which is just an impossible task. It's a mountain to climb. But absolutely, like the town clerk says, start something now, ready for next year. We've got that a little bit ahead of schedule because we're already looking at 2024, in 2023. So I think it would be really good to put something really good on. I mean, the big reveals now set back in good footing for this year. Moving forward, the lights thing is slightly different, but certainly the big reveal can go ahead, have that second bite of the cherry. That's something that is ours, and obviously supported by the councillors and the officers. I think would be a very, very good way forward and something to celebrate next year.
That's great, thank you everyone. And I agree as well. I'm very pleased we've managed to make it work. Big reveal. We've got a good event this year. Just note the comments about the Christmas markets, especially as I represent another village as well, Ashurst Woods, and I've seen some of the other Christmas markets. They do seem to go in the diary quite a long time in advance. And I think we probably need to be leading on that, so that I just don't want anyone to be disappointed with the Christmas markets. I've seen a few events lately that have had to be cancelled due to lack of interest, and I'm sure it's because there's too many people trying to do similar things.
Too much.
Yeah, exactly, and if they came together, there was good, good way of publicising what might be happening, people would be able to make it work for them, rather than having to reinvent the wheel every time, which I know sometimes happens. So hopefully, if you're out there, we could try and lead maybe in terms of the Christmas markets next year, and keep advising people of dates or when things are happening, so that we make the most of those events. That's all right. And they get the most out of it. So we've got the recommendation, which I think is that we have the switch on at the big reveal. We don't do the Christmas market this year, but we look to lead on a Christmas market next year, working with the relevant other bodies, and lots to look forward to. So is that approved by everybody? Please show hands.
That's great, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, it'd be nice and busy now.
Thank you. And also, I mean, it's a great event. I know we're just about to talk about D-Day, but I know the classic car was very popular. So it's going to be a great stream of events in the town for 2024. So item 11, D-Day 80 commemorations. And there is a long list.
Sorry, Chair, before you go there, you've got a second recommendation, which is to approve the outline of 2024, which is the
which is the event we just talked about.
the events we just talked about, which we obviously just added in a Christmas market, but otherwise as laid out in the report.
We happy to approve the events as set out.
That's
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry about that. Item 10 and the D-Day commemorations. So we've got quite a lengthy report there about what's proposed nationally and what we are doing locally. A lot of bullet points, a lot of events, especially particularly on the Thursday, with the costs associated with it. We have a recommendation at the end that committee are asked to approve that D-Day 80th is commemorated and is granted to approve a programme for the day. We're talking about beacon lighting, fish and chips, children's races, national commentary, gases. There's a cost of a gas canister, which is for the beacon, which suddenly weaved its way into recommendations. We have some much more fun things, though, to potentially look forward to, including singing, things like that. So, what not to like? So, we are going to be asked to increase the budget, which is where those items were coming from, and we need to allow those for budget setting. So I think some of us may have questions or comments and other, useful things I'd like to throw in the mix, but
Oh, I thought you were excited.
yeah. So it's obviously going to be one of the biggest days of next summer, and it falls in a midweek, so I think they're going to be combining events from the East Court Live, but also on the D-Day 80 celebration itself. To me, it looks a great report, but I'm sure if anyone's got any other ideas or questions on the report, then please feel free to raise them.
So it looks great, and it's important that we emphasise it's a big year, 80 years, and I think we all have the fear in the back of our minds that the further on we go, the less people might see it as being very poignant, which obviously we need to try and maintain. So looks good and really important community event, really, given the circumstances.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Thank you, Councillor.
I completely agree with you, Councillor, because I think it's an important date for the nation, and there's a lot of activity and commemoration going on nationally. I think we've got an opportunity to make it as big or small as we want, and maybe as we move forwards to the next meeting, we can start to talk about the shape of it and how big we really do want to make it. in the proposal talks about national fish and chips and bringing the communities together and the choir. But there is also an opportunity to maybe link up with the schools. This is history, and we've got and live in a town where, you know, this will resonate quite strongly, I think, with many generations. So I'd quite like to continue to talk and shape our plans for it, to get somewhere that we feel really excited about and comfortable with as something truly commemorative.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. I'm sure we'd all like to
Oh, definitely.
make the most of the of the day and the commemoration. Town clerk, would you
What
like to add?
do, Chairman, if this is what committee would like, is we'll continue to bounce ideas around, discuss with yourself and Vice Chair, and see if we can then be very clear when we come back into the next meeting, this is what we are. I think, although the next meeting is December, by then we need to be getting some things out there and making those conversations with people, because if we don't, we're not going to get to the schools, especially. We need to work out what we're going to do. So if we keep talking with you and then we can come back and say, right, this is what we're doing because we've started to do these bits, rather than leaving it to the next week before we actually do that. Because I think that otherwise we might be behind the curve, which worried me. Something I forgot to put in the report, but I wonder whether committee would be interested in the idea, is to have a projection onto this building for the week from the Sunday when we have the East Court live event through to the Thursday, and obviously including the Thursday, so pretty much through to the Friday. A projection, I don't know what, whether it is something like D-Day 80th, or whether there's going to be an official logo or something, I don't know. But I just thought, I wonder if it might be an idea to actually have something projected onto the front of this building for that week, for the hours of darkness.
Did we do something before on the front of the Mansion House? Wasn't there somebody projected before? Is that my imagination?
No, we had a projection for we didn't do it on Mansion House. I don't think we did it anywhere. We're going back to Simon Carr's time, and it was the soldiers marching through the high street, that little bit of video, and I'm not sure that we actually we wanted to project it in the high street onto Lloyd's Bank, and I don't think we ever got anything done, because I think the logistics just wouldn't allow it to happen. But here, because obviously we have got electricity and what have you, it shouldn't be too difficult for us to be able to have something actually up on the little raised bit by, you know, just opposite the thing, actually onto the front of the house. I think it might be quite effective. I have no idea what it's going to
That's the only thing, is it's quite light evenings.
you
It
won't really see it until later in the night. It's something that, you're quite right, it won't really be seen until 8, 9 o'clock kind of thing. But and I have no idea what it's going to cost, and we'll get the cost before we agree to anything.
I'm sensing positivity towards sort of making the most of the opportunity in an appropriate way. Councillor Fallon.
No, I agree with all of it. I was just saying that one thing we do need to be mindful of is whatever we do, we need to get the budget right for the plans, because the budget is going to be coming in slightly before the December bit of doing. So even if we need to maybe put in a little bit more and spend a little bit less, but we need to get the budget right. It's just what I'm thinking on that, to make sure it is right and appropriate.
Are we happy to put those recommendations with the extra feedback from the town clerk in between before the next meeting, just so we've got a really good plan as an committee? Agreed. Thank you very much. Okay, so the next item, we weren't sure whether we were going to have it on the agenda or not, is St Margaret's Loop. We have received an email from Councillor Jackie Russell just within the last 24 hours regarding the West Sussex position on St Margaret's Loop. And if you just bear with me, I wouldn't normally do this, but I think it's probably best that the committee has it read out to them, verbatim from Councillor Jackie Russell. I had a meeting with both the Cabinet Member and Director of Highways at lunchtime today, where they gave me the County Council's position on this matter and their proposition going forward to help support the Town Council to realise its ambition to create a woodland walkway along St Margaret's Loop. In response to my concern regarding any duty of care by Highways, The Director of Highways outlined that it is not uncommon for bridges to be owned by other organisations, provided the County Council has carried out its due diligence, i.e. obtained the requisite insurance and inspection documentation for such owners. They are comfortable with this position with respect to duty of care to road users on roads that traverse such bridges. In terms of the outcome of recent inspections, the Highways Director outlined that for the County Council to simply adopt the bridges, this would cost the authority 180,000 for immediate repairs, 200,000 per bridge commutable sum to cover ongoing risk. So the total cost of 2 bridges is approximately 600,000. The Highways Director fully acknowledged the Town Council would not be in a position to put up this kind of money. So he proposed the following: that the Town Council instruct a consultant with a specialism in bridge structures and converting old railways to come up with a scheme and to demonstrate how the scheme will be funded. He said that Highways will be happy to work with the Town Council in terms of technical support, advice and guidance to help bring any scheme to conclusion, but the cost of putting the scheme forward would have to be met by the Town Council. If the Town Council were able to put forward a viable scheme and to demonstrate how this would be funded for consideration by the County Council, then the County Council would consider the scheme and ultimately investing in the adoption of the bridges to enable the scheme to progress. So that's the end of the email. So in effect, we are being asked if we will pay for a scheme to be drawn up with input from WSC, West Sussex County Council, and we just have to explain how we envisage St Margaret's Loop to move forward and how it will be funded to get to that position. And if we can do that, then if content, the West Sussex County Council will determine if they're happy to proceed with adopting the bridges from Railway Paths Limited, which then makes the scheme happen. So that is where West Sussex are at the moment. Obviously, we've managed our own position to get to where we are with places, people like Landlogical. So if we were to move forward that, then we need to speak to Landlogical to ask if they would do this work up front and provide the scheme for us. If not, because we've got heads of terms with Landlogical already, we would need to release them from the heads of terms where they are the partner for delivery of the project with us, or else we'll have to pay Landlogical for doing that work. From our perspective, obviously Landlogical bought in by Railway Paths right at the beginning and have signed an exclusive right of access with Martell's as well as our own heads of terms. So we would be hopeful that Landlogical is in their best interest really to work with us to help deliver this scheme. And when we originally budgeted for the project, we had budgeted these overall costs into the overall project. So where we're getting to now is if we're going to have to do some of this work in advance, there might need to be some payments up front. But given our relationship with Landlogical, it might be that we can say to them, look, are you happy to do this work on our behalf? We can capitalise it into the cost of the project and you'll be paid through the wider budget for the project that we're putting forward. So that's something we have to consider. We've also got to proceed really with if we want to carry on, we've got to proceed with the survey for the retaining wall, to determine the retaining wall position and whether any works are needed on that as well, so that we can ensure whether they're insurable and viable for us to proceed with the transfer, because as you know, we don't own the land, so we've got to go back on that matter too. So where I think from our perspective, based on the email from Councillor Jack Russell, West Sussex County Council, so sort of, if we would like to move forward with this, then it seems that there are 3 actions that we would need to take, which I'm sort of presenting to this committee. Firstly, number 1, to contact Railway Paths Limited to ascertain their current position and their agreement to overall land transfer and position as put forward by county. 2, to go ahead with the retaining wall survey. and secondly, we know that costs £1,700 and £2,000. And three, that we approach Landlogical to see if they can provide the plans, and if so, at what cost. And in that, I think we have to ask them if they would do it for a capitalised amount that gets paid later in the project as it comes through to realisation. But if not, then we might have to go out to tender for the plans to be drawn up. So I appreciate for those of us here that that's quite a lot that's just sort of coming over the last 24 hours, but that would be my proposal, that we're not spending money now apart from that retaining wall survey, which we needed to do. We clarify the position with Railway Pass, we speak to Landlogical to see if they're happy to, as we've got invest the time, which we hope they would, for now, with the payments coming later, given they've already invested the time with us and we've been working with them, we've got the heads of terms. So those three items, contacting RPL, going ahead with the retaining wall survey and approaching Landlogical, are really the recommendations that we're putting forward this evening. But happy to answer any questions. Obviously, the town clerk has read the emails the same as I have, but it makes but is also happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. Personally, I think we've come so far with this project. It's such an amazing project for the town. It would be amazing to get St Margaret's Loop again, that it's worthwhile us investing the extra time without any significant extra cost to try and see if we can deliver this for our residents. That's a fact.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to really thank Councillor Jackie Russell for actually getting this to us, ready for this meeting, because with her workload that she's got on, and then to just get this under the radar right at the right time we need it. So I'd like to thank her for that, and actually giving such a clear piece of information. It was really helpful, and I'm really happy to support what you proposed in that order. Very keen that we at least move forward. And yes, we are going to have to spend a little bit of money, get that retaining wall survey complete. But this is the most promising I've felt it for a couple of years. So I'm keen to ride the wave.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Hughes.
I completely agree with you. I think St Margaret's Loop has been talked about for 8+ years. It was part of a promise to the town and its residents, and this feels like we are not quite in very distant of making it happen, but it feels like there are some real engagement at county now and some really clear and not too expensive steps for us getting clarity. And in doing so, it feels like we could push ahead and make this happen. And if we can deliver this, I think it will be amazing.
I mean, I had a conversation with the town clerk earlier and like this email, and I'm just conscious maybe for some of the members of the public that might not be quite so familiar with where we've got to, but a lot of work's gone to this, and in terms of coming forward with the scheme, we're trying to come up with a sort of cost neutral scheme for the rest of St Margaret's Loop, such that we're not looking to fund the bridge costs, etc. ourselves. We're hoping that West Sussex will still come forward to the table to pay for those, but what we have to demonstrate is that there is a viable scheme for the remainder of St Margaret's Loop that stacks up, and I think our best chance of doing that is following through with these recommendations, and as you all said, having come so far over such a long period of time, that it really is an opportunity, and I think it was riding the wave.
We're riding the
wave and hoping for the best, but not certain of the outcome, but this will give us hopefully the best opportunity.
I was thankful that you were able to condense it at the end into those 3 salient points, because I thought I'm never going to keep track. But those 3 points sound like they constitute the next step, so I think we'd be silly to come away from this and not move that forward. The retaining wall thing is the only one thing that we're really paying for, and that's
exactly
unavoidable. So
whilst
Yeah,
it's
and-
cost effective
yeah.
for us to move forward, we should carry on doing so.
Yeah, and we're not
Absolutely.
binding our hands into anything at this
Yeah.
stage, are we? We're just trying to
Yeah.
see what options we've got, so, yeah, sounds positive at this stage.
Show of hands.
Harry, thank you, Claire.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. And, we know this won't happen overnight, but we're hopefully doing the right thing quicker forward. So next item. No, it's St Barnabas. So we have a report before us. A lot of work going on St Barnabas, a lot of interest being shown. I know Alice's done a lot of work on it, Town Clerk as well. I've had chats with Alison and Councillor Bones and Mrs Merricks about the work required to be done, and the amount of painstaking work to make sure that they're doing it right, so that it's the pain is taken now and less going forward, and hopefully more cost efficient going forward too. A lot of good interest in the hall as well going forward. So I think probably between us all, quite understandably, whether we're happy just to defer the opening, just to make sure we've got the installation right, the sort of surfaces, as it were, right, and that when we do go to market, I know we're already going to market, but when we properly open the hall, we've got it in the way that we'd like it. Whether we're happy to move it to the new year to allow those works to be completed, and I'm happy to propose that. Could I get a second?
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Town Clerk, do you want to add anything to the St Barnabas situation? I know how hard your team, I spoke to Luke the other week, I mean, they it's a labour of love. Without the love, without the
Yeah, I'm
love.
not trying to throw it up. The team fully understand the council's aspiration for St Barnabas. And although there's a bit of trepidation of the amount of work it was going to cause, they have embraced it, and they really are getting stuck in. And I think now that we've flattened the floor and we've made a few small steps, they can all see the potential that hall has and how useful it's going to be for the residents down in the Dines area, Sunnyside area. So I think they are well and truly on board. Alice has been running around showing people the building, getting that very first timetable set up, so that hopefully we're going to have a good level of hirers right from the word go. We've got, as always, it's challenging because we've got some groups that want it every third Thursday with an hour in a month and things like that, but we'll get there, we'll sort it. We're keeping it affordable as per the instructions of the committee, and Alison will feel a lot happier that she's not having to stop the work and then restart the work. So she'll be very happy with this decision, that she can now just get it done. We've been successful in getting some Section 106 money from the District Council, so that's good news, which means it helps with any costs that are arising. This is immediate remedial work to get it open. There will be a lot of work over a number of years, but we'll get it open, we'll rename it, we'll get it ours, and then we'll be able to hopefully have a really good asset going forward. So I think it was personally very brave of the council to take this building on, and we're going to do our absolute best to make sure that it delivers what you wanted it to. So yeah.
Great, very positive update, and please do pass on our thanks. We do appreciate it. It's been a challenge. Show of hands.
Carried.
Thank you. And the final item on the agenda this evening, community bonfire. So we've had a report from the East Wales Community Bonfire regarding how they're getting on with their proposals for their bonfire on October 21st. The report is just for noting.
Noted.
We've got unanimous noting. And I declare the meeting shut at 8:05. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman.